Hey everyone, welcome to Pageant Professors. This is Nicole and Prita, and today we're talking about trunk shows.
If you're new to the pageant scene, trunk shows might not be a term that you're familiar with, but ask any pageant veteran, and trunk shows are a great place to find the perfect evening gown for your evening gown competition. So Nicole, let's first start talking about what is a trunk show.
Yeah, when I first competed at Miss Maryland USA, I had never even heard of a trunk show because I use my prom gown in the back of my closet, and little did I know that at the time, Crowning Touch was sponsoring the trunk show at Miss Maryland USA, and they had a special weekend before the pageant where they brought in the latest dresses that they had and some of the newest trends that weren't available yet to the public. And it was held in the hotel where the pageant was going to be hosted, and all of the pageant contestants were invited to see them.
Yeah, that's the great thing about trunk shows, is usually what they are is a evening gown store that stocks different designers and different fashions. But to make it more accessible to the rest of the country, they'll do a traveling show almost, where they'll bring a select number of gowns, usually based on the appointments that they have, and set up in hotels. And for usually a 3-day weekend, they will invite people over to come and check out what they have. But it's a great way to see gowns from Giovanni, from Sherry Hill, from other designers that don't necessarily have a retail store that everyone can just walk into.
Yeah, and they might have them at actual pageants. When we went to Miss USA this past season, we went to the McDougal Trunk Show, and it was absolutely beautiful. So
yes.
You never know when one is going to be available, and so we're going to try to post some dates on our website, pageantprofessors.com.
And trunk shows are from many different stores across the country. So, the Crowning Touch, like Nicole mentioned, or La Casa Hermosa are ones that we've both worked with, but those tend to service, I think, mostly the eastern part of the country. But there are some great California, Midwest, Texas companies that do it. And since trunk shows travel, if you have a favorite store, give them a call and see if they'll be in your area. Anytime. The longer you give them, if you call them, let's say 6 to 8 months before your pageant, it's the best opportunity to make sure that you'll find one in your area and give you adequate time to find a gown.
Yeah, definitely. And, definitely be ready to travel. If there's not going to be one in your state or in your area, you might want to make some plans over a long weekend to find one.
Road trip. It's always fun. So what are some things that you do to prepare for a trunk show? Because it's not like a store that you just walk into. So what are some big things that they should remember?
I think number one, make an appointment. Like you said, it's a limited time opportunity. It's a 1 to 2 day window where you can go see the gowns. And if you're going to make an appointment, at least be early to the appointment, if not right on time.
Nicole makes a great point about being on time, because just keep in mind that there are tons of other girls that are also making appointments for the trunk show. So whether it's for the same pageant or different pageants, trunk shows are a hot commodity, and so the spaces fill up fast. So when you call to make your appointment, give yourself plenty of time and show up there, because if you are late even by 20 or 30 minutes, that runs into the time that you have with the consultant and to see gowns, and you might, run out of time before you find the perfect gown.
Yeah, and to make the most out of the appointment that you do have, I would be ready with photos and definitely a good idea as to what you're looking for in terms of color, style, and definitely silhouette.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the things that when you call to make your appointment for the trunk show, the consultants will generally ask you those questions. So before you call, be prepared to answer those things. Because they have such a wide selection of gowns, but they're traveling, they tend to just pick the gowns that are perfect for the appointments they have. So if you give them all the information about what you're thinking, what you're looking for, that helps them to pull the perfect gown from their large stock. But it's also important that you tell them the right size, the right colors, and almost most importantly, your budget, which every gown consultant will ask you. There's gowns ranging from $100 to $10,000. So when your consultant asks you ahead of time, be very honest about what your gown budget is, and make sure that you factor that in when looking for the gowns.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up budget. I think a lot of girls don't know that accessories and shoes are going to be part of the trunk show, and they might not have budgeted for it. So I think that keeping in mind that there is going to be jewelry available and other accessories for completing your look that are going to be there, I would definitely budget for those items as well.
Speaking of shoes, which brings us to a great point, bring your shoes to your appointment. I think that's probably the #1 thing I could tell anybody who's new to a trunk show is make sure you bring your shoes. As we mentioned in our Evening Gown 101 course, having your shoes is so important because it helps you not only tell if the gown is the right length, if it needs to be altered, but it also helps you get a feel of how the dress moves and how it feels when you walk in it. So having the shoes is incredibly important. If you don't have your evening gown shoes already picked out, that's okay too. Trunk shows will often stock the latest pageant shoes for evening gowns, whether they're clear or nude heels. They'll usually have some options that you can purchase there.
Yeah, and don't be shy about, trying the dress on, having it on for a while, walking in the hallway with it on. The trunk shows are usually held in a hotel, and there might not be a lot of space in the gown area itself, but feel free to take a couple laps in the hallway with your shoes. You really want to see how the light's catching it and how you can move in it with your shoes on.
Agreed. And speaking about the limited space, also, one thing to know is because they're held in hotel rooms, you've got racks and racks of gowns, and you've got consultants and other girls in other rooms trying on stuff. Make sure that you don't bring a giant entourage. It's kind of hard to move if you've got too many people in the room. So I'd say pick your 2 favorite people at most, generally family members or a really, really honest, good friend who will tell you, who will give it to you straight if it's the wrong gown or if it's the right one. You need someone there who's going to give you advice, but not, your entire entourage.
Yeah, you definitely want to avoid too many cooks in the dress kitchen, I would say. So definitely have someone in the room and in the area that whose opinion you trust. Another good idea is to come with your hair and your makeup done. I mean, we're not talking about the full-on updo and HD makeup, but you want to be able to vision yourself winning that crown in the gown of your dreams, and the closest you can get to styling yourself in that way, I mean, you're going to be better off.
Yeah, not only will you look better, you generally will feel better and more confident, and it'll just help the look come together. You may not see how great a gown is if you kind of feel frumpy and not that into it. So definitely come ready to work it and strut your stuff in the hallways of the hotel.
Yeah, and it'll give the consultants a better sense of what your natural style is, and maybe they can give you some better suggestions as to what dresses they think would look best on you.
Yeah. And speaking of what dresses look best on you, I think it's extremely important to try on every dress that they pull for you. It may not be your favorite dress, it may not even be the style that you're looking for, but try it on. I think, as I mentioned in the Evening Gown 101 video, the gown that I ended up winning Best in Evening Gown at Miss Maryland for, I actually hated on the rack.
Yeah.
Was one of the ones I wasn't even going to bother trying it on, and last minute, we decided what the heck, we'll go for it, and I loved it. It looked amazing on. So, sometimes you forget how great your body looks, and sometimes the dress just flatters it in a way that maybe it doesn't look like it would on a hanger. So try them on, all of them.
Yeah, and conversely, don't let anyone else convince you into getting a gown that you're not comfortable with. If you're genuinely not loving the dress, it's going to show on stage, and it's going to show, at the trunk show itself. So, go with your gut.
You have to do the Courtney twirl test.
The Courtney twirl test.
The Courtney Hale twirl test. If you twirl on it, then no. But that's true. I mean, if it's something that you feel like you have to talk yourself into, or, I can make this work, don't get it. There are tons of gowns out there. You can find the perfect one. Don't feel like just because you made the trip out to the trunk show or the appointment that you have to buy one. You're not going to disappoint the consultants. You're not going to disappoint your friends and family, but you will disappoint yourself if you go home with a gown that you just don't feel 100% in.
Exactly. And in our Evening Gown 101 course, Allie had a great story about, changing the dress. If you have 1 to 2 to 3 things that you're, in your head are going to be changing about the dress, it's probably not the gown for you.
Right. Yeah, because you have to factor in the time that goes into that. But that's extremely important. And going back to trying on the dresses, also make sure that, when you try on all the dresses that are in your price range. And if you have some flexibility, that's great, but there's nothing worse than falling in love with a $5,000 gown if you have a $200 budget. Make sure that you kind of keep it in the ballpark of where you want to be, so you're not so distracted by, the really expensive, shiny gown that kind of outshines, or in your mind, outshines the lesser expensive dress.
Well, and the last thing we want to mention is, when you find the perfect gown, make sure that you have a conversation with the tailor. Usually they have someone on site that is going to take your measurements and, take those back to the shop to make sure that the dress fits you perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of Allie's, top things for evening gown. Make sure you have it tailored. And there they'll pin it up and they'll kind of hold it back so you get an idea of the fit. But make sure you take advantage of the in-house tailor that's right there and that can, have it fitted perfectly for you. And don't expect to take a gown home that day. Yeah. That was something that I didn't know. I bought this gown and I wanted to take it home and show it to everyone, but you probably won't get it for about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how the alterations are and what you're having done to it. They'll take it back with them, find the perfect size, and have it fitted. Yeah. But also, one more thing, there's so much about trunk shows. If you're not quite at your competition weight, because a lot of times girls still working out, still kind of figuring out, make sure that you let your consultant and the seamstress know what your goal weight is and what your goal size is, because the last thing you want is to have them alter it to your current size, and then you lose 2 sizes and now the dress is a bag on you. So make sure you have realistic goals, but that you're honest about kind of where you are versus where you want to be, if there's a difference, and let them know that ahead of time.
And I know we're focusing on evening gowns today, but just to wrap up, make sure that you check out the interview suits and the swimwear that the trunk shows typically have also.
Yeah, it's a great place to kind of find all of your pageant needs in one place. They're not really pageant stores, or not everywhere, at least. We should work on that. But it is a great kind of traveling store that will have accessories and different kinds of things to help you, whether it's the inserts for the bikini tops or the non-slip stuff for the bottom of the shoes. They kind of seem to have a wide range of accessories to help you complete your pageant wardrobe.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find stuff there that you didn't really even know that you needed.
Right.
So. It's a great one-stop shop, and definitely, number one, put that on your to-do list for, your pageant competition.
Yeah, if you haven't found a gown yet, they're a great place to go. And even if you don't find the perfect gown there, it'll give you a great jumping-off point to figure out kind of what direction you want to go in. But definitely go and check out trunk shows in your area.
Did you know that there are some really common mistakes that girls make during the evening gown portion of their competition? Click on the link in the description below and you'll be taken to our website for a free 30-minute long training course. By the end of it, you'll learn how to avoid these common mistakes and master the evening gown portion of your competition today.